Doors are shut because we're about to begin. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to call to order the April 5th, 2017 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Would the Secretary call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Youngblood.
Here.
Mr. Peterson. Present. Ms. Alvarez-Rosales.
Here.
Chairman Irvine.
Here.
We have a quorum with 4 members of the committee present.
Okay. Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of March 8th, 2017. The minutes were previously distributed. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Would the Secretary call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Youngblood.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Rosales.
Yes.
And Chairman Irvine.
Yes.
That motion is approved with 4 yes votes. And let me just say something before we begin. Because we have a new court reporter today, everybody who comes up, please state who you are and what your title is, because we can't expect her to know you like the other ones in the past. So please remember to state your name and your title. Thank you.
Our next order of business today is the review of the finance report. Chairman?
Morning.
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 I'm Jeremy Fine, the Chief Financial Officer. And we'll review the February results. With regard to passes and fares, we saw a decline with regard to variance to budget for passes and fares for the month of February. We saw again, as we've talked about numerous times, the reduced fare subsidy from the state continuing to come in less than expected. However, we did see an uptick with regard to non-fare box revenues, continuing to drive some additional revenue from our non-fare box sources, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment when Mike Gwynn, the Revenue Director, comes up and talks about some of the changes with regard to one of the contracts that we have with Intersection. So overall, we saw revenues slightly down with regard to February. So we're down to the tune of $3.7 million. However, as in prior months, we continue to have very strong expense controls in place. So if you see, we'll talk about that in a moment, but we'll see that that more than offsets the drag that we see in revenues for the month of February. On a year-to-date basis, we see fare and pass totals, again, slightly down to the budget to the tune of about $3.9 million. The reduced fare subsidy also, continues to track on a monthly basis due to the not receiving the remittances from the state for those for that line item. And then for non-fare box revenues, again, we see a positive trajectory to budget for our non-fare box revenue line. So overall, we're slightly down to budget with regard to total revenues to the tune of $5.7 million. Our average fares are slightly down, and our free rides are slightly less than what we saw in February of 2016 on a year-to-date basis as well. So again, with regard to expenses, we've done a very good job of continuing to control our expense lines. We also benefited from the fact that February in particular was a very good weather month for us. So we saw positive trajectories on various line items here. On the labor line, we saw a positive variance again because of the good weather. You didn't see a lot of additional overtime that you typically see in a bad February weather month. Materials again benefited from the good weather, so we saw a positive variability of almost $500,000 there. Again, as we've talked about with regard to our energy purchases, fuel and power, we continue to see positive variability on that line as well, just because we're able to lock in at very attractive prices. Injuries and damages and security services continue to track approximately where we expected them, slightly favorable, but basically where we expected them for the budget. And then again, other expenses, these are primarily contractual expenses, again benefited from the warm weather. So overall, we were favorable for the month to the tune of about $4 million. So again, going back to the revenues that were down 3.7, that puts us in a net position for the month up $300,000. With regard to year-to-date expenses, again, very similar trajectory on a line item basis. And you may recall from the revenue slide that we were down about 5.7 million with regard to revenues. Here we're favorable to the tune of about 4.8 million dollars. So net for the year, we're down, but down a little less than $1 million. So, you know, on a percentage basis, it's not a big amount, but again, as we've talked about before, every dollar as being CFO is very critical. So again, we're looking at ways to continue to drive our other revenues. We're able to modify our advertising contract to increase our MAG, the minimum annual guarantee, and a higher percentage of those revenues. So again, we're continuing to push to drive those additional revenues, but again, we're facing some headwinds with regard to just general ridership trends that we've talked about in the past, and that again are being experienced nationwide. But again, you know, those additional efforts on non-fare box revenues, as well as the contractual and other labor and material lines, controlling those costs, are critical for us to continue to maintain, you know, positive trajectory or kind of minimizing the effects of the larger issues going on.
Could you explain the difference on why we're negative from year-to-date from the other expenses? You mentioned in the report about the new debt service. Could you elaborate more on that one?
Yes, so, you know, we have additional debt service. You know, we have issued bonds from time to time over the last few years. As the additional debt service comes online, that comes online in the other expense line item. So, you know, that does have material impact because our borrowings, you know, for capital projects are relatively large. When those bonds come online, that increases that line item. So, you know, again, that's something that we'll have to continue to watch as we move forward. You know, again, the level of borrowing that we, the CTA, will need to engage in. We want to try to minimize that as much as possible. So that entails us going out, scrubbing the capital program at large, which I'll talk about in a moment. Seeing what additional resources that we can bring to bear for those capital projects, so that we minimize our capital borrowings, because that was one of the process that we went through this year before we sold the bonds that we sold a couple months ago, is to see how much we could squeeze out that we would not have to borrow for out of the capital program at large. So, you know, trying to minimize the amount of borrowings is going to be something that we continue to press forward because of the direct impact that it has on our operating budget.
Any other questions?
Yeah, not so much a question as a statement. A couple of things. One, in terms of the reduced fare subsidy.
Yes.
So, you know, just kind of reading in Capital Facts and what's going on in Springfield, there's talk about there might not be a budget for the next 2 years. They're talking about going an entire term with no budget. And I don't know if you've had conversations, but I just think it would be smart to start talking about with the RTA about, you know, if that happens. My hope is that it doesn't happen. But in light of the fact that every year, every month we come here and we see that, you know, if we were getting that money, that would make a difference in terms of our bottom line. But the talk of there not being a budget for the next 4 years would just be, I would like to hear, you know, in terms of conversations with the RTA about that. The other thing too, and here we are almost 3 months into the year, you know, we've had 2 years of mild winters, and which has been favorable. Like you said, it has been able to hold down expenses. But you know, at some point, that's not sustainable. It's just we're going to have a bad winter. Overtime's going to come. You got material increases that are just going to come, and at some point there are going to be wage increases. So I just thinking down the road, 3 months in, we're almost in the month of April. Again, when, as we sit here every month and kind of go through this, I just think, we've got to start trying to figure out how to be a little bit more creative, because the things that are helping us today, we've been fortunate, 2016, now 2017, maybe even part of 2015 with fuel costs, holding down the cost of labor and all of those things. But again, we're going to have a bad winter. We're going to have some things that are going to sneak up on us. And I just think we just need to start trying to figure out how to think out of the box and be a little bit more creative. And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, what's our recovery ratio? What, in terms of what's required by the state, what is that percentage?
So we have, let me just pull it up here with regard to where we are year to date. We are slightly below, but that's not abnormal for us for the
Yeah,
year.
because the summer months are really the heavy ridership month. I was just curious as what the percentage is that's required, not so much where we're at right now.
Yeah, so we carry, for the RTA wide, it's 50%.
Okay.
And then the CTA has historically carried a larger percentage, just because we're the bulk of the ridership for the region. So we're at 54%. So we, again, we really kind of do an outsized portion of the larger 50% total that we were required for the region to receive the federal funding. So, again, that's something that we continue to keep an eye on. That is becoming tighter and tighter, as you've seen in our year-end reports over the years. Just because of the funding formula mix, and the type of funding that we receive, whether it be the sales tax, PTF, and RET versus what we receive via farebox. So that's something that we continue to have a very detailed and ongoing dialogue with the RTA on how, as a whole system, we're better positioned to ensure that we meet the recovery ratio, because that obviously is the toggle, the binary toggle on and off. You have to hit that 50% threshold for the region for us to receive the funding. I can get you the exact number, but it was just slightly over the target. So
50%.
yes, yeah.
And I think if you go back the last 4 to 5 years, you can see every year, I think.
It's been
one
going
year
down.
I was here, we were probably up around 58%, 56%.
Yes.
So you can just see again, that's why I'm saying the path that we're on now is not sustainable.
Yes, absolutely, completely agree. And we've been looking at, that longer, 1 year, 2 years, and then out further, how we can get on a glide path that is more sustainable, to your point. Because yes, I completely agree that there's revenue initiatives, there's expense initiatives, and then there's the larger funding issue that has a direct impact back onto the recovery ratio.
Jeremy, just following up on Chairman Peterson's question, how do free rides affect the recovery ratio?
So that's a very good question with regard to there is an opportunity to see a larger impact, a more positive impact for the free rides that we give on the recovery ratio. Right now, we do not get the full value of the free rides that we give. That is not incorporated into the recovery ratio. I think that is something that it's clearly something we're discussing. I think it's something that does have some potential, but we just need to continue the dialogue on that, because we're giving out a large number of free and reduced fare rides, and we're not getting nearly the credit for it, either in cash or in the computation for the recovery ratio, which is a non-cash assistance here that can be afforded to us as well.
Because the recovery ratio was created before the free ride programs were created.
Yes, yeah. So that is something that we're definitely pursuing. That would be a benefit, most notably to the CTA, but would have that ancillary benefit on the RTA being able to hit the overall goal for the region.
Would the RTA Act have to be changed to change that?
Yes, so we would need some additional assistance on getting that type of computation change made.
Okay, thanks.
But that is something that we are looking at.
Any further questions? Since there are no further questions, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
I also want to announce the committee agenda item number 5 has been withdrawn. Our next order of business today is the review of an ordinance amending Ordinance 016-136, approving the fiscal year 2017 through 2021 capital improvement program. And thank you, Jeremy.
Sure. And I'm sorry if you don't mind, I'll just cover the last page with regard to the commodities.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize for that. The 3 commodities that we purchase, for our fuel, power, and natural gas, as we've talked about, again, we're seeing positive vectors on all 3 commodities. So again, we're seeing the effects of being able to lock in to low commodity prices, which we've talked about on the prior pages with regard to the positive benefit to the budget on a monthly and annual basis. So we've locked in basically everything that we need to for 2017. We were actually able to go a little bit higher with regard to power than we have in the past. Typically, we've bought either 70 or 80% of our power just because of the way that we had to buy it. We had to buy it in block pricing. You may recall several months back we talked about changing that to a more fluid methodology that basically tracks our actual usage. So by doing so, we're actually able to lock in all of what we expect to use. And if we don't use it, unlike the block pricing methodology, we don't have to pay for it. So previously, if we would have gone up to 100%, we didn't use 100%, we would have had to pay for it anyway. Now we don't have to pay for it. So it actually insulates us and protects us more by being able to buy the full block of energy purchase, particularly for power, and not have the downside risk of having to pay for energy and that we did not use. So again, we're seeing some benefits of the changes that we've undertaken over the last year. So again, this is a positive money-saving methodology. It also protects us on the downside from fluctuations, in usage that would have incurred additional charges that we would have not used that energy in the past. So apologize. So
No.
thank you.
Thanks for completing your report. Greg, do I need to repeat that?
No, we're just going to start talking.
Okay, then we just go right into the
Ordinance.
capital improvement program ordinance.
Okay. So with regard to the capital improvement program, you're probably familiar with changes that we've done on an interim basis in the past. This is a similar type change, and again, this is a very exciting change because we're seeing some additional revenues coming into the capital improvement plan. This CIP plan stretches from 2017 through 2021. We see some additional revenue sources, and I'll walk through them in particular coming into the plan. The first one is a city zoning bonus to the tune of $5.8 million. This will help us on the project for the Ravenswood Loop Connector. We'll have $2.5 million coming in from insurance settlement monies. We've discussed these types of settlements in the past. This is another installment for the ghost train and O'Hare incidents. And those funding dollars will go for RLE in the rail car inserts. We see $1.1 million coming in from the Safety Research and Demonstration Funds. These are federal discretionary funds for the Quick Track program or project that we're undertaking at the Control Center for rail cars. We also see $400,000 coming in from a Mobility on Demand Sandbox Demonstration Fund. These are federal discretionary dollars, and that will go for the Ventra mobile application where we're integrating Divvy into the Ventra app on a locator and payment system basis. So again, positive trajectory on trying to tie the different modes of transportation together. And again, hopefully will increase ridership as we make it more seamless for people to extend that last mile via the Divvy system. And then we have $17,000 which were awarded to us as part of the Chicago Urbanized Area funds. These are federal formula funds that were originally programmed for Wisconsin and that are being reprogrammed for CTA buses. So those dollars, along with some local match dollars, If you were doing the math, add up to a little bit more than the $8 million, really about $10 million. That allows us to free up about $2 million of funds that were originally programmed from operating funds to the capital budget. We were able to free those funds back up and swing those back over to the operating budget. So again, that's an assistance not only to the operating budget, but again, we have some nice sizable contributions coming in from discretionary funding, which is, again, competitive programs, as well as getting some reallocations from some of the other funding sources that I mentioned. So again, great opportunity to tap into some new and discretionary funding sources to help fund our CIP program.
That's good.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Our final order of business today, thank you, Jeremy. Our final order of business today is the review of 5 purchase, is it 5? Yeah,
Today, yeah.
yeah, 5 purchase and sales award recommendations. Presenter is Ellen McCormick.
Good morning, Ellen McCormick, Vice President of Purchasing and Supply Chain.
Morning.
Good morning. And we'll start with contract number B1. Any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, next we will review contract number C1. Any questions?
Yeah, I just had a question. So this is a $9 million change?
Good morning, everybody. Michael Gwynn, Director of Revenue and Fair Systems.
Okay.
The amendment in front of you is a change to the intersection contract. It's going to increase the minimum annual guarantee by $9 million over the remaining 3 years of the contract, as well as do a few other key things. So the way that $9 million breaks down is $1.5 million in this year as a minimum annual guarantee increase, $3.5 million next year, and $4 million in 2019. It will also modify up the revenue share ratio up to 65% for CTA of any dollars that come in above that minimum annual guarantee. Previously, we had one revenue share amount for the static side and one for the digital side. This way, we'll have just one, and it will be the higher of the two numbers, so that's beneficial. We'll be installing 130 additional digital screens throughout the system, 70 urban panels, which are on the exterior of the stations, and then 60 that will be within the stations on the platforms or on the mezzanine. We'll be making a $2.1 million investment in upgrading the legacy screens that are nearing the end of their useful life, so we'll be getting a refreshed technology there. And then which the most visible improvement beyond additional screens out there will be that we're changing the way that the screens are presented so that at the bottom of the screen there will always be customer information showing. So it'll be a little crawl. It won't be crawling. It'll be kind of similar to the DMS screens that we have that just show the next train arrivals and then cycle through. That's going to be able to show next train arrivals, so you don't have to sit there and stare and wait until the train tracker screen comes up. But it'll also be an opportunity to put customer information out. If there's outage, system alerts, elevator outage, we can publish that to the screens so customers can see it before they make the decision on how to go forward. So if there isn't service at a certain station, we'll have an opportunity to more consistently catch those people before they climb the stairs. And that should reduce customer frustration and just be of real value.
Gooder?
Quite one question. So will the decisions about what's displayed on that portion of the screen be made at that station or at Control Center?
It'll be control center, similar to our current process.
Great.
I had a question with regards to what's displayed as well, and more on the platforms than on the bus sites. So obviously, we all have a concern with regards to a reduction in fare box, right? Have we given any thought to really taking a look at different opportunities, and that might be an opportunity to motivate or to make it maybe a little bit more trendy, right? Look at ways that we can attract more customers and utilizing this. I know that we don't always have, I think it's 90% of the time that we have advertising or things that go on, and I think it's 50% on the other side within the buses. But have we taken a look at, given some thought to that? Marketing or
sure.
branding or PR, whatever you want to call it?
Yes, these digital screens are one of our, I think, our best resources that we have to get the word out there. We've used it in the past for the safety campaign, for the code of conduct campaign. It's really a great way to get the word out. In addition to the digital screens, we have the car cards as well, which is another great place to put up information. Riding on the bus, you know, you're right, you just can't help but wander around and look at everything. So we do leverage that. We have trans-benefit information up there now. As we are rolling out different marketing strategies for passes, encouraging people to use CTA over the summer, we will definitely leverage all these assets that we have to help get the word out.
President Carter?
If I can just add to what Mike is saying, I think to your point, what we really need is a fully fleshed out strategy on how we're going to basically be marketing CTA and how we're specifically targeting the customers that we feel can be impacted by our marketing campaigns themselves. And I've asked staff to actually put together and identify the resources that we need to actually engage in that so that we can really, I think we've done a very good job of just blasting out information to our customers. We've done a very good job of marketing certain initiatives and other things that have been supportive of what CTA is trying to accomplish in terms of improving service and things of that nature. What we need to really focus on now, particularly in light of the ridership challenges that we're facing, is how are we getting to those individuals specifically who we want to draw onto CTA or bring back to CTA, and what marketing strategies are we specifically focusing on to do that. I think there's also a desire on my part to really focus on how we can make CTA hip. I'm saying in the context of, you know, how do we appeal to younger riders to basically, you know, show them that, you know, using CTA is actually, you know, something that should appeal to them because of either the technology that we have available or the other things that we can provide as a way to continue to try to grow that market share of CTA's customer base. And so I've talked to Brian and his team, and I've asked them, and we've also had conversations with Jeremy about putting some resources into that effort so that we can really come to you with a fully fleshed out strategy on this is how we're actually attacking the opportunities that we think will best leverage what we need to ensure that we're maximizing the opportunities to grow ridership at CTA.
Thank you, because that was exactly where my question was going, that we needed to be, I mean, this is an opportunity, right? Because we're getting all this new technology that we can utilize, but I think we need to be more strategic and really start looking ahead. So that's where my question was going, because I think there are opportunities. Trendy, I hate the word, but you know, to possibly look at opportunities, but we have to be strategic about a plan. So thank you for saying that, because that's where my question was going.
No, I agree, and we will plan to come back to the board and sort of present an overall strategy that will be supportive of exactly the goals that you've mentioned.
So, Dover, one thing just popped in my head. I was just thinking about as Brian and take a look at this area. Think about how much money we're spending on our fleet in terms of environment. With the bus, I mean, you talk about things that the younger generation is kind of into. You look at the investments in terms of the tens of millions of dollars we're investing in cleaner energy for our buses, you know, what we're doing with rail. Again, I just think there's an incredible opportunity to better market, better position. You look at, again, you know, we talked about briefly with the Wi-Fi and all of that. So I just think we continue to make all of these investments. But again, I don't know if we're necessarily packaging it in a way that it's really resonating with the next generation of riders and the environmental stuff. It's just something
That's a
really,
great point.
I know we're getting ready to order new buses. We've got the new 7,000 series coming, and, you know, we've got all of this digital stuff where you're gonna be able to again, I just think I'm glad that, you know, we're gonna be able to, as you said, be a little bit more strategic kind of going forward in how we position.
I agree. I also think that there are opportunities for us to identify partners that can help amplify that. As you know, just for example, Apple has already been in a long-term relationship with CTA, one of our stations, and I think that there are ways in which, and in the past, they've been, you know, they've branded our station and done other things. I think there are more opportunities for us to connect with technology or with companies that are certainly associated with that sort of image, and use CTA as a leverage for that. I like to say that the original rideshare company is CTA. We've been doing rideshare for, you know, over 70 years, and the fact that it's now hip to use rideshare doesn't mean that we shouldn't be a part of that conversation. We just need to figure out how to message that in a way that will resonate with our customer base.
And CTA offers sustainable rideshare.
Yes, exactly right.
Well, thank you for answering that so completely.
Great. Thank you. Next, we will review contract number E1. Any questions? Next, we will review contract number F1. Any questions? Okay. And finally, we will review contract number H1. Any questions on that?
No question, just a comment to, we've had just 2 good months, like last month there were 9, this month there's only 4. I don't know if that's because we approved so many in the terms of those procurements alone, but I mean, this has been 2 months of slow activity in terms of procurement.
You know, so we anticipate when we're gonna be able to get that contracts to the board, but we can't always guarantee that, because sometimes negotiations will take longer. We had one, the bus overhaul was supposed to come to this board, but there were DVD issues that I think are close to being resolved, and we believe that'll come to the next board. So we bring them as we prepare them. So we expect to see more the next 2 months, but I can't make any guarantees on it. But I can assure you, my staff is working diligently. The contracts we are working on now are deeper and more complex, so it takes longer to negotiate and get the scope and everything just right.
It's not on the agenda, but I know one of the things Jeremy talked about, and that is, you know, we've been able to reduce cost in terms of material on the operating side. Can you talk a little bit about, and this might be, I don't know if you're able to speak to the NAPA contract. So we're about 2 to 3 years in, if not even longer. How has that benefited us as an agency in terms of just acquiring materials, saving money? I mean, that was really, when we got into that contract, it would, you know, allow us to stop from stacking all of these materials in warehouses for years and years, and sometimes they wouldn't even be used, or by the time we got around to them, they would be outdated. How has that helped us as an agency?
So we, first of all, that is one of the reasons the amount of contracts I bring before you has decreased, because of the fact that they are now procuring many of those items for you. And we will be presenting to you an in-depth report of how well they are functioning. But for example, they are holding $25 million of material that is no longer on our books. It doesn't get on our books until we actually go out and we take the item and we use it. So that has worked very well. They've also helped us increase our forecasting. So we aren't, they've taught us how to go out. We work much more closely with our using departments. We meet with them. We know now if there's going to be a campaign or what seasonal items. We're much quicker. Like right now, we're already starting to prepare for the fall. That wasn't something we had done typically. We would wait until the fall to say, okay, what do you need for the next few years? So we don't run out of items like we used to. The amount we have stored, we had a warehouse now that I believe it was one we had rented. We're pulling stuff out and able to put it at 901, so we're able to save there. We've also this year opened up a warehouse at West Shops. So that saves on a lot of time and delivery service, because now they just walk across the street and they're able to go into our store. and into our warehouse there. But Napa has helped us, so they've helped us, and then they go through pricing, and the DBE has really, we went from about 12%, I think we're about 26% now. So it's really helped on that. They're also helping to find DBEs in the city or in the locale that, that previously we had not supplied products to us, so they're really working with us in that area. They're working with some of the bigger companies who did not have DBE suppliers to get them to get DBE suppliers, so they now work with these DBE suppliers. So again, we will be getting, we will be getting an in-depth report, I would say, in the next month to 2 months. But we've also seen a savings in costs.
So I've got a question. What happens if, and I don't even know if they store this, or we go out and actually purchase it, but what happens if we don't use the materials? For example, because of the mild winters, we haven't had to use as much windshield wiper fluid. We haven't had to replace as many windshield wiper blades. What, do they store those kind of things? And if we don't, if we've had like 2 mild winters in a row.
We have a ton of salt.
Okay.
My team was actually hoping there would be a good snowfall so we could lay some of the salt out. Fortunately, those products will last. So it just
Yeah.
means we buy less
Perfect. Next year.
So we
Great.
should be fine for next year, you know,
Okay.
provided there's no anything crazy about it. But we definitely store it, but we're not storing to the extent that we used to.
Do they store tires? The tires on our buses?
You know, our tires on our buses we lease.
We lease, okay.
We lease those.
Okay.
So we do not store those. And those kind of things we don't want to store because they do deteriorate. So they've helped with our forecasting as far as that goes. We did when they first came in, we had to get rid of a lot of material that would go bad, like the rubber tubing and various things. You'd think, well, how can this go bad? It's all steel. Well, there's rubber tubing in there, and that would go bad. It would deteriorate over time. So we don't have anywhere near that at all anymore. We're able, if it's something that can deteriorate, we will, what we'll do is, we just don't buy as much. Additionally, Napa's working with something for us now. We're redoing, we're doing the overhaul for the trains. And their batteries we are getting in on the new, and with the kits. Well, they're new, and the batteries Napa's holding for us are older. And they're gonna get rid of their useful life, so they're swapping them out. So we're taking the Napa batteries in as part of the overhaul, and then those batteries are going into storage, into the warehousing system, so that they have a longer life for us. So it's all these different programs that we're working with. We continue to work with them, and we continue to get really good things. One thing we get at CTA that no other, I maybe shouldn't say that loud, but no one else gets from Napa is when they buy a new product and the price goes up, we reconcile it at the end of the year. So if they only paid $1 for this and the new pen is $1.50, the pens we bought for $1, we get a reconciliation check at the end of the year, and we get and what we do is we just put it towards the future purchases. But they actually reconcile with us, and they don't do that anywhere else. So we're constantly working with them to try to make this contract work even better for CTA.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, nice work. Thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, may I have leave to place these 5 contracts in the... Oh, go ahead.
So I just want to go back to C1, and Michael, Quinn, and the whole team. I really want to thank you, because I know we got onto the branding and marketing, but that was great negotiations on this. It gives us a great new platform that's also going to increase our revenue with, and opportunities there. So, thanks for the great work on that particular.
All right, if there are no further questions, may I have leave to place these 5 contracts in the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Since there is no further business to come before this committee, may I have a motion to recommend board approval of the omnibus?
So moved.
May I have a second? Secretary, call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Youngblood.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Rosales.
Yes.
Chairman Irvine.
Yes.
That motion is approved with 4 yes votes.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thanks. Just a couple minutes there. We did need 40. Sure.
It is
Yeah,
10:01.
It's 10:01, fine.
All right, 10:01, all right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled meeting of the Chicago Transit Board for April 5th, 2017. Would the secretary call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Youngblood.
Here.
Ms. Irvine.
Here.
Ms. Alva Rosales.
Here.
Chairman Peterson.
Here.
We have a quorum of the board with 4 members present.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is public comment. Greg?
Yes, sir, we have 2 public comment speakers. I'd ask them both if they would like to step up to the table there and be speaking into the mic. Hopefully the green light is on there. And according to the policies, if you try to limit your talk to 3 minutes or so, we'd appreciate it. And we're going to start with Mr. Charles Hardwick. I think that's spelled Hardwick. Sir, if you would like to address the board.
Good morning. My name is Charles Hardwick. I'm Program Director at Howard Areas Community Center, and we have an MOU with the CTA for the Second Chance program. And I'm just here in support of that program and to kind of echo how impacting it has been for the 28, 29 participants that I brought to CTA, and to say that we're talking about people's lives here. These opportunities for people who historically have not been afforded to work for large corporations and have the opportunity to support themselves and their family. And I'm hoping that regardless of union, regardless of politics, that this program continues, because we need it. I hear people, I talk to people every day that talk about how amazing their lives have changed because of this program. And when the people are starting to talk about, disbanding it, talk about cutting it, we're talking about cutting people's lives and their opportunities to live the way all of us live. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just thank you for coming down. You said you've had 28 individuals kind of come through the program.
Over the past 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years. Just let me say, first of all, the board is very supportive of the program. I know we've increased the number of positions to about 265, and I know that we work with a number of organizations. What kind of service does your organization provide to the participant once they're in the program?
So what happens at the front end,
Yeah.
they participate in our first Fresh Start program. It's a soft skills workshop that helps them understand the culture of going to work, perceptions, misperceptions of how an employer should or should not treat you. After they complete 5 weeks of comprehensive training, soft skills, and then we also talk about college and how to start your career with education. So that's a large piece of it also. After we've selected individuals to come down, and the selection process is really based on their participation in our workshops. A lot of people think that we are the CTA Second Chance program, and so after we get over that hurdle of explaining we are not, but we're the conduit to you getting to CTA. And so we require perfect attendance, just as you guys also do. We require that people participate, go through mock interviews, just get a clear understanding of what's the expectation, not just at CTA, but in the work culture. And I think that I've been with Howard Area for 16 years, and over the past 16 years, I've seen lives dramatically changed. We're talking about individuals who's coming back from drug addiction, coming home from incarceration, and really have pounded the pavement for 2 years or more with no positive results. And so we have individuals who believe that, well, I know how to make money, so if no one's going to hire me, then I'll just go back. And we know what that does. That increases the prison population. That brings crime and danger to our communities. And so when CTA came up, when I first heard about this, it was an amazing opportunity. And people come in understanding that it's a boot camp culture, but if you make it through there, if there's opportunities for you to be hired on, and everybody works towards that. Does everybody succeed? No. But I'm going to tell you, if you got individuals who've never worked a job, individuals who live that culture of street and crime, find themselves at CTA, make it through that boot camp, and then you guys hire them, they walk around with pride that you would not believe. They're afforded to put food on their table. They're afforded to support their children. And, there's a saying out there that black men don't take care of their children. It's not that black men don't take care of their children. Black men don't have the resources to take care of their children. And so therefore, and I was one of those black men, so I truly understand it firsthand. And then after a person is accepted in the Second Chance program, then we follow through. We come down and participate in roundtable meetings. Recently, I had one of my staff to come to this building on a Saturday and do a resume writing workshop for individuals who have been participating in the program, and now with the hope that with the skills that they've achieved, that now they can apply for a job here at CTA. And it's amazing when I'm at Howard Street and I see one of my clients doing the customer service in the train station. You know, that's amazing. And mothers, children come to the office on holiday. We do holiday gives. People bring their children, and they're like, "Thank you, Mr. Charles." You know, and it's just so rewarding. And these individuals that we're talking about, once they get it, you got one of the best employees that you can ever have. And I'm the one. I was in prison for 14 years. I got an opportunity with Howard area, and I've been there for 16 years. So, and I moved up from placement specialist to management now. And I think people who are doing the Second Chance program, that's what they desire. That's what they want to do. They want to actually work and be a part of this organization here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hardwood.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Mark Sanders II.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As he said, my name is Mark Sanders II. I'm with the North Lawndale Employment Network. I'm the Director of Business Development for that agency. We've been working since 1999 to provide training and supportive services, as well as technical support to men and women on the West Side who want to advance economically and improve their quality of life. A bad joke that I like to tell about our organization is that employment is one of our middle names, and we take that very seriously. That's why we cherish opportunities and partnerships like the ones we have with the Chicago Transit Authority, because we know how important it is to go through the training, to reestablish the disciplines and your personal priorities so that you can be prepared for employment. But if you don't have an employment opportunity, a tangible opportunity, once you complete your training, you've basically wasted your time. Our organization has wasted your time. And so we cherish these opportunities so that we can make sure that the people who we work with actually have real employment opportunities. And so I appreciate the chance to speak before the board. And I also want to acknowledge the learning and support team, because I think led by Mrs. Esther as well as Ms. Sherman, I think they've come up with a strong strategy as to how not only to preserve the program, but also to expand it. Many employers are nervous about hiring people with felony convictions or arrest records or any kind of unsavory background. And so what I like about this program is that they've developed a system where you provide an application just like any other organization, but then you're also that you have a team of reviewers who are actually reviewing and considering each person's background individually. They're checking to make sure, of course, that they meet all the standards of the job, but they're also reconsidering a person's background individually and the steps that they've taken to turn their lives around. And I feel like that's real important aspect of this program, the fact that you have a team of people who are actually considering each person individually and really deciding to give this person another chance. When we call this the Second Chance program, but I think it's important to consider that many people have not had a first opportunity. We call our first chance system the educational system. And as we know, that first chance system has failed many of the people in the communities that we serve. We're talking about specifically the 19 neighborhoods within the city of Chicago that have experienced years and years of poverty, and who in neighborhoods like North Lawndale Employment Network's neighborhood, where about 57% of the people have some kind of arrest or conviction record. And so that's just a snapshot of the numbers of people who need these kinds of opportunities. We're talking about 30,000 people per year in the state of Illinois being released from prison every single year. That's 30,000. All right, about 39% of those people come back to the city of Chicago, and most of them come to the south and the west sides. So we're talking about 12,000 people that need a chance. All right, and so to consider either taking away this program or diminishing the number of people in this program is is almost criminal in itself. And so we need to really be thoughtful and supportive of the men and women that go through these programs, who go through all of the steps that the state of Illinois has asked them to go through, that their families are asking them to go through, that each and every agency is asking them to go through in order to take advantage of these limited number of opportunities that we have available here with the Chicago Transit Authority.
So Mark, I've got a question. So
Yeah.
let's say you start May 1st here.
Mm-hmm.
Charles talked about the boot, what happens on the front end.
Right.
So they started CTA May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
What happens on the back end with an organization like yours to support the employees? Because like you said, you've been out of the workforce. So if this
Right.
is your first opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
you get a job.
Right.
And I recall when I was over at Chicago Housing Authority, we had public housing residents, very similar. It was that first opportunity. And sometime that first job, it took them, that second and third job
Exactly.
before they could actually, have some consistency. So just take a minute or so to tell me on the back end, once they start here May 1st,
Mhm.
how does, your organization support them? Because the issues that still come up, a lot of the young men and young ladies, they have children.
Right.
Sometimes they're housing issues. Sometimes, there are just other things going on in their lives. Yeah, they're here for 8 hours doing a good job.
Right.
But when they leave here, there are other things going on. So how do you support them after they start here and they've got a job at CTA in our program?
Thank you. So the first 2 weeks, we have what's called a coaching model at our organization. And so within those first 2 weeks of getting the job, we're doing check-ins frequently. And then every 30 days after that, we do a monthly check-in. And so ideally, and again, the learning and support team, if there is an issue that we can support them on, they'll give us a call, and myself or one of the coaches will reach out directly with that candidate just to identify what the particular issue is. Is it a housing issue? Is it something going on with your child where you're having difficulty getting back and forth to work? So we support each individual in a unique way. And so we have that coaching support, but we also have a financial literacy team who is working with them they've already provided like a basic overall understanding of how to manage your finances effectively and creating a budget so that you can anticipate these challenges that come along while you're on the job, or these unexpected circumstances that would impact you getting back and forth to work. And so we've already developed strategies around that, and so with each individual. And so they're also checking in with them just on a more distant basis. So about 6 months to a year later after they've graduated from our program, we're continuing to check in with them just to address whether or not they are following through on the plan that they've created for themselves, or if there's any challenges that they didn't anticipate that they need to make adjustments to their plan. So there's a continuous interaction that we like to have with our clients once they come to our orientation. We have what's called a no client left behind policy. So once you commit yourself to turning your life around, we've committed ourselves to walking with you every step of the way. And so we'll have people that have those negative experiences where they lost their job or something happened. They may have even gotten reincarcerated. But as an organization, we've committed to that person to work with them as long as they need our support.
Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, can I just add one small thing? All of the clients that we bring to CTA and you guys accept, they are also dual enrolled in a CDBG program. And so that program requires that we follow them for a year.
Excellent.
And we must see them at least twice a month. And what we use to kind of push that is that individuals need to bring us a copy of their pay stubs.
Yeah.
And so by bringing the pay stub, we get case management. By bringing the pay stub, we find out what's going on in your life. And we are required contractually with the city of Chicago to follow these individuals, regardless if they're in the CTA Second Chance program or not.
Perfect. I like that.
Great.
That's
Great.
Thank you. Dover?
Yeah, I just want to just personally thank Mr. Hardwick and Mr. Sanders for coming down and speaking to the program. I also want to echo what the board has said in terms of my feelings as well. I am also extremely supportive of the program. I am committed to the program continuing. I've met with a number of you on a number of occasions to talk about the program and to update you on the status of where things stand. I've also had the privilege of meeting a number of the participants in the program over the period of time that I've been president, and I can tell you, I echo everything that you say about the impact this program is having on them personally. I can honestly say that there hasn't been a meeting I've had where I haven't been emotionally touched by the personal stories of these individuals and what this program has meant to them, and that is part of the reason why I feel so strongly that this is a program that has to continue. I also want you to know that we continue to work on how to improve the program. As you know, we've added some career services pieces to it in a partnership with city colleges that we think has also helped support developing the skills that they need as they go forward. We're going to continue to work to see how we can support them even in a post program world by using our network and our connections in the business community to make sure that we're getting opportunities for people to get interviews. As you mentioned, a number of these employees have been hired at CTA, and I'm proud of the fact that they're CTA employees and that they've got careers here at CTA. I wish I could hire all of them. That's just not a practical reality for me, but I certainly want to support them once they leave this program and find ways to make sure that we're getting the word out to the companies who do business with us, to other city agencies, to the network of CTA contacts, that these are individuals who have shown a commitment to the workplace, who have shown the discipline to be good employees, and therefore they deserve an opportunity for a job somewhere. So we're going to continue to work closely with all of you. We're going to continue to support and fight for the program. I appreciate all of you taking the time to come out in support of the program. I think as many voices as possible need to be heard around this, particularly in the era that we're in right now with the challenges in Springfield and the funding and the other issues that we're dealing with. There aren't a lot of programs like this that can continue to be supportive in this difficult time. So thank you for coming in. I look forward to working with you going forward, and we'll continue to keep you updated on the status of our conversations with the union as we move forward.
And thank you guys for all that you do.
Thanks, Charles
Thank you.
and Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, thank you both, gentlemen, for coming down today. Chairman, that concludes the public comment section of today's meeting.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is the approval of the March 8, 27 board minutes, 2017 board minutes that were previously distributed. I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of March the 8th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
And seconded. Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Alias?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion to approve the minutes passes with 4 yes votes, sir.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is executive session. It is my understanding, Karen, there will be an executive session today.
Yes, Chairman, we will have executive session today pursuant to Section 2, Paragraph C of the Open Meetings Act, subparagraphs 2, 5, and 11.
All right, thank you, Karen. I now entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Alias?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
And the motion is approved with 4 yes votes, so we are recessed. I don't think it's going to take real long. for Arabella. Carrie. I was wrong on that estimate. I was wrong on that estimate of 10 minutes. Good.
I now entertain a motion to return to open session of the April 27th Chicago Transit Board regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second it. Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion is approved with 4 yes votes, sir.
Thanks, Greg. Our next order of business is board item number 4A. Karen?
Thank you, Chairman. While in executive session, we discussed the acquisition of real property located at 3242 North Wilton Avenue in Chicago. This property was previously designated by the board for acquisition for purposes of Red Purple Modernization Phase 1. We have been in negotiations with the seller. The property is a 3-story residential building on a regular-sized lot. The seller is Elizabeta Bruce Bridget, and the tentative price that's been agreed upon for acquisition of the property is $630,000. Both planning and the Department of Law recommend the purchase at this price.
All right, thank you, Karen. I'll now entertain a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 3242 North Wilton Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, for the Red Purple Modernization Project.
So moved?
Second.
Second it. Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 4 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is a report from the Committee of Finance, Audit, and Budget. Director Irvine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget met earlier this morning. The committee approved the March 8, 2017 minutes and reviewed the finance report. The committee also reviewed the following items: an ordinance amending ordinance number 016-136, approving the fiscal year 2017 through 2021 capital improvement program, and 5 purchase and sales awards recommendations. The committee recommended board approval of all these items and placed each item on the omnibus for board approval. That concludes my report, Chairman Peterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Irvine. May I now have a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Irvine?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Ms. Alva Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion is approved with 4 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is a construction report. Chris?
So today we're talking about 4 projects: the 95th Street Terminal Improvement Program, the Wilson Transfer Station Track and Structure Reconstruction, the Ravenswood Loop Signals Upgrade Project, and then the TIP-funded Illinois Medical District Rehab. So the first project, 95th, is on schedule and budget, but tight to both. We talked significantly last time about the work that was going on the west side of the station. That work is comprised really of 2 predominant things: to install the foundations for the new south terminal, as well, and importantly, to install improvements ultimately to the signaling system in that area to improve the efficiency of different types of operations in order to make sure that we can provide the best possible service through that terminal. At this point, we've completed the work on that side and the foundations, and now we're flipping over to the east side to do work. Involved with that work, as we discussed last time, is alternative service, minor alternative service during rush hours to support it, because we are limiting the availability or the access of consists in and out, or trains in and out of the yard. So in that circumstance, we to answer or address some of the questions the chairman had, I wanted to bring some slides out here of just some of the public outreach, the extensive outreach that was coordinated between our operations group as well as our media folks. I think they did a great job in reaching out to people, and also, Chairman, to kind of reflect a question that you asked before. We had people out on the platforms in the loop talking about this alternative service as well. So you can see both extensive kind of car card information I had in the previous slide, as well as extensive public outreach through the media, our own social media as well, and then finally putting folks on the platform to just have direct contact with our customers. And subsequently, I've heard of no issues with regard to this, and certainly we continue to pursue the construction. It has been moving aggressively forward in the last few weeks, so I'm apologizing that some of the slides are a little dated. You'll see us pouring concrete into another work.
Chris, before you move on to the slides, I just want to get back into the public outreach.
Yes, sir.
As I look here, I know most of this is print, and maybe this is a question for Brian and Brian's team. But do we do any radio? You know, I'm just thinking about 95th Street and BON. So this is all print outreach, and I read most of it. But you also have a lot of people in cars, and I'm just wondering, have we done any outreach on the radio about what's going on at 95th Street to make people aware of what's going on?
Well, we have Brian Steele, Vice President of Communications and Marketing. Yeah, in addition to all the print material we developed, we also had a significant quantity of digital advertising. Most of the outreach we did via media got a lot of print and broadcast coverage. We actually used a lot of the items from the playbook that we developed for the Red Line South to hit multiple constituencies at different times of day and at different locations. In this case, we did not do any paid advertising because we were getting such significant media coverage out of it. So in addition to all the print and digital and the media coverage we got, as Chris mentioned, we deployed our information specialists all along various locations in the Red Line and in the Loop. So even though the actual service impact didn't hit a huge amount of Red Line customers, we wanted to make sure that we cast a wide net to make sure that we caught riders at various times of day. And it does appear to be be successful. As Chris mentioned, we've seen very few, as in maybe 2 or 3 comments on social media. And as of this morning, we had, I think, right around 11 calls to customer service this week with people asking more information. So that's a very small amount given the magnitude of the operation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, great job, because I know right before the red line reconstruction, you know, we talked about 20,000 individuals coming through that one station. And again, you've got them coming from the south suburbs. We've got the Greyhound bus station there. We've got our own riders. And I was just, the reason I was mentioning, you know, radio or whatever was because you've got different constituencies coming from different regions of the city coming to that one location, and that might have slowed down a little bit, but I do know that when we started this, the first part of the reconstruction from 22nd to 95th Street, you know, 20,000, one of our busiest stations, and so that's why I was asking the question. So, okay.
Thank you.
So continuing on to the photographs, you can see us working here on the west side. So all this work has been completed. This alternative service has begun. Trains are now running on the tracks you see under construction. You know, this work included various types of foundation work. This is part of a retainage system that we need to install in order to work on the east side of the tracks here. All sorts of electrical and mechanical work. The area now that's been cleared and graded, you see on the west side has been completed. We have tracks out there. You can see them building the tracks in progress. So the work has advanced aggressively, and this is a good slide to look at because now we're kind of flipping this over, right? So we have done the improvements to the traction power, to the signaling system. On the west side, we've installed, you can see the foundations. As we flip to the other side, we'll start to install the platform as well as the corresponding, the mirror structure of what you see on the west side, on the east, so that we can begin the structural construction of the south terminal foundation. So the project is moving forward aggressively. There's been a lot of activity on site in the last month since we last spoke. The contractor has successfully completed a significant amount of work, working in many cases 2 shifts to get it all done. And again, it's very complicated because it involves not just building track, but also putting in drainage systems for the track, drainage systems for the building, traction power, and signaling. So a lot of deep infrastructure improvements that are occurring on site and are integral to the product that we're ultimately delivering, which is better service as well as a improved station.
Chris, this would be another example similar to, you know, when Jeremy was up, where we benefited from a very mild winter. Are we ahead of schedule, on schedule? I mean, has there been any change, you know, in terms of just the
We worked with the contractor to take advantage of the weather. I would say that we are tight against the existing schedule. The complexity of the work that's required out there, the interaction not only with service, you know, working on the west side there, we had to install a grade crossing, so in many cases we had to work very closely with safety in doing that. We were moving contractor equipment and materials across an active line of road. So I would say that we've aggressively managed the schedule at this point, but are still very tight up against it.
How are we managing DBE participation as the ongoing process is occurring?
So we're always in contact with diversity team is always in contact with the contractor to make sure they are staying to their commitment. And right now they are exceeding their commitment just a little bit right now. But we expect them to continue to strive to exceed their goal.
area if I can follow up? I believe in trusting, but how we verify.
Sure.
So again, I don't know if it's through payroll. What do we get from the contractor that actually verifies what they're telling us in terms of, you know, their commitment and participation when it comes to DBE?
So one thing our president has put into place is that we actually review the work orders as they're being processed. So we get to monitor the DBE before it gets approved by the president and by Chris. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that through our B2G system, we monitor the payments to make sure that the payments are matching what the commitment was to the DBE contractor. So we monitor not only at the beginning when the award is given, but we also monitor through the progressive payments. And then two, we do our site visits to make sure the DBE is actually doing the work. So we're constantly in contact with the contractor, with the DBE subs, and with the project in total.
Moving on to the Wilson Station, this project continues on time and on schedule towards a completion this year. Most of folks are familiar with the phase change that we had recently out there, completing track 3. Now we've almost completed demolition on track 4. This enables us to progress to the next stage of structural installation of caissons to support track 4. Many folks that are in the community have seen the Gerber building out there. We had some very positive press on the Gerber building and our intents to both, as the project kind of moves away from that structure, it makes it more commercially viable. Additionally, we'll be renovating it. It has stood kind of open for a while because we need to install foundations for the new track 4 in that area. But in this phase, we begin to progress and see the station really springing out of the ground. There's been a lot of preliminary work done on it in subsequent phases, but now you start to see some of the foundations to the front of it, as well as the building will start to emerge in subsequent presentations. Here in this picture, you can see the shell of the Gerber building. This is the construction of the auxiliary exit on the north side of the street. The predominant part of this building, though, will be offered up as it will be a real estate offering. So we look forward to an exciting development within the community there as the project nears completion. This is the construction of the ramp leading down to the new Sunnyside auxiliary entrance. That's under construction as well. Obviously, this project. I can just say some unimportant stuff for now. All righty. So this is, as I said, this is the ramp leading down to the Sunnyside auxiliary entrance. That entrance itself also is one of these elements that the foundation work is being done, and you're seeing the auxiliary entrance there starting to spring out of the ground. I thought this was a really nice photograph that our construction group took. You can just see that you've got 3 trains kind of moving through this area in tandem on the new track 3. You can kind of see on the right-hand side of this picture, there is some structure up. There's less of it there now as it starts to get removed and we start to construct the new track 4.
Chris?
Yep.
Well, before we move on from Wilson, what's going to be, I forget, what's going to be around the ramp in terms of, is it going to be clear glass or polycarbonate? Or?
I believe polycarbonate.
No.
Yeah. Polycarbonate protection in different areas. I don't believe it's open significantly in any areas, but that's not. We see some of these ramps or auxiliary entrance having various degrees of openness too, just to promote ventilation. So predominantly, though, it's covered and has polycarb.
Okay. Thank you.
Similar in character to the platform. If you think about that, it's sort of a bluish polycarb. Ravenswood Loop Signal Project is progressing on budget, tight to schedule. The signal projects are very challenging in terms of getting the technology all coordinated. We obviously go through a very rigorous commissioning process relative to the design of these safety-sensitive systems. We are essentially pulling together a system from several different manufacturers and making it act as one system on a railroad that is over 100 years old. So in the planning stages, there's a lot of complexity, but that said, it's moving forward. You've seen in previous months photographs of us starting to run the brackets that we're going to put all the cabling on. Now you're starting to see the foundations for the new signal houses, so we install new relay houses out there to house all of the new processing equipment. So this work is beginning to progress as well. This project will come to completion in the first quarter of 2018. We have to construct platforms as well as foundations to support the houses. This is at Cleveland. Moving on to the Illinois Medical District, we had an event out here not too distant past when we closed the Damon station, the Damon entrance of the IMD station. That entrance remains closed. You see some photographs of the various pieces of work that are going on. This is going to be a really exciting project. The architectural expression of the station really changes and modernizes along with the function. It will be an accessible station in the wake of it. And also, I think, architecturally significant. So to realize a lot of those changes, some of the specialized construction we do. This is a tower that will enable them to work on the outside of the building, the Damon Auxiliary, installing that tower and getting under single tracks or other types of customer impacts, and then enabling them to work and modernize that structure. Demolition of the topping slab on the ramp going down, and then subsequently reconstructing or putting new curtain wall into the ramp is a big part of what this project will do and bring to the community. So also on time and on schedule for that project.
All right, thanks, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Okay, thanks, Chris. Since our last order of business today is new business, I would like to use this opportunity to share a great story with everyone. A few weeks ago, Mayor Emanuel, myself, President Carter, Director Rosales, Director Irvine attended a groundbreaking on the southeast side of Chicago. We were joined by CRRC, the company that will make our new generation of rail cars, the 7000 series. The groundbreaking was for a new rail car assembly plant. This facility, which is the first train car manufacturer to produce a rail car in Chicago since the mid-1960s. Eventually, 170 people will be employed in the plant, and that means 170 good-paying jobs right here in Chicago. CRRC, CRRC with World Business Chicago made a fantastic video for that event. The video captures the significance of this partnership for all of Chicago. I would now like to share the video with the board as well as with other members of the audience who didn't have a chance to see it. So.
And Chairman, I think Mr. Youngblood, Director Youngblood was also there.
showed this to the leadership at Rush. I mean, the fact that we haven't had a manufacturing plant since the late 1960s, the mid-1960s, the fact that this is going to create 300 jobs, about 130 of those will be construction jobs, but 170 permanent jobs. Folks helping to make our next generation of rail cars. And I thought to be able to get in the car, go out and see it, what a difference it's going to make. I already know that they're bidding on other North America rail car opportunities, so hopefully it just won't be, Chicago rail cars made there. There'll be rail cars made there from around the country if they're able to win some other bid. So I just wanted to share that with you again. I was so impressed that I've been showing it to everybody because I think, one, it highlights the city, but more importantly, I think bringing jobs to the southeast side for those of you who know about the steel mill industry, the Pullman area, we actually had two individuals at the press event who were two individuals who made the last rail cars for us. They were actually at the event and they were excited. So I just wanted to share that with you because again, you know, so often I want to thank the staff. I mean, a lot of folks, Ellen and her team and Karen and everyone who worked to make this possible. It's just, I think, another exciting thing going on here at CTA. Since there is no new business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn. Thank you.